Support the Amigos podcast and keep the Amiga goodness flowing for just $1 a month. Visit our page at patreon.com/AmigosPodcast.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to talk about Test Drive 2. It's been too long since we've done a racing game on Amigos.
I can't even remember the last time. I'm sure it was some sort of over-the-head cart number.
Yeah, so this is a full-on racing driving simulation.
Indeed.
Before we get into the game though, Aaron, somebody's got a birthday coming up.
Listen, I was hoping to God that no one would mention this or remind me, because I'd done my best to not think about it. So thank you for kicking me right in the pants.
Well, Aaron, you know, I couldn't let it go by without getting you a little something. So, happy birthday.
Thank you, bud. I appreciate that. What in God's name is this?
Wear it with pride.
Thank you, Boat. There it is.
So that's a T-shirt with the lion heart cover. Boy, it also doubles as like, you know, like a curtain or something. You can put that up in your window.
That's a large portrait of the man himself. Thank you, Bode.
No problem.
I love it. I love that.
Yeah,
that's very nice of you, Bode.
And next year's retirement, so you've got a lot to look forward to.
I'm going to retire you right now. No.
Aaron, that's about all we've got this week as far as the feedback.
That was nothing.
We got nothing. So we can dive right into Amiga news.
Amiga news.
Yeah.
Cue the robot.
Dink.
Thankfully, Bode. There was a lot of Amiga news this week. And so I thought I did a lot of digging and nosing around. You know what I mean?
Let's hear it.
So, our good friends at AmigaLove.com have an update on their Rejuvenator. We had an update a couple weeks ago. I'm just trying to keep people abreast of this because I think it's an interesting, sort of a fascinating journey as to how this stuff develops, because I feel like I've gotten on the ground floor, and he's been very forthcoming about what's happening. So
is that the man?
That's the man right there. So there he is.
There he is.
So they've hit bad times on this thing. They had a backer that was going to help them do with this project, and the backer backed on out of there.
That's a shame. They
basically got out of there. So they're looking for a new angle, a new backer to back this thing. Plus, as an added kick in the pantaloons, it turns out that some of the chips on the board may be encrypted. Oh. And if they are, there's a lot of bonage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They fear that they will not be able to do anything with it. So. But there is hope. He at the end of the video, he sort of mentions that they may have a new angle, and that all hope is not lost. And he also added a message that said all hope was not lost. So all hope is not lost. So fingers crossed. And if you happen to be some sort of super chip genius or board manufacturer, get in touch with the guy over at Amiga.com. Help the guy out.
AmigaLove.com.
AmigaLove.com. What did I say? Amiga.com. That's got to be something.
Also a valid site.
So next on the docket, here's a kind of zany one, Bode. So, and this is from Indie Retro News. Remember E-Rock? We've talked about this guy before. He kind of takes these games and enhances them sometimes.
Right.
So, well, this time he went and found a helicopter mission, which was an educational German version of Desert Strike, sorta.
Okay.
And he converted it to basically English, and you can play it if you want to. Now it's mentioned in here. It's sort of like Jungle Strike without any killing. So it's more like empty grasslands fly.
I was going to say, where's the action in that?
But it's educational. You're learning not to kill.
Yeah, I guess you're learning how to pilot a helicopter.
But still pretty cool. Hey, listen, the guy did it. It's a freebie.
That's right. You can't knock him for that.
Before this week or whatever, you could even play this unless you're in Germany. So now the world gets a chance. So
that's true.
Very cool. I like that. Now another staple of the Amiga community, Amiga J.
He's back.
Now this time out, he's got the complete works of Neo, and we don't mean the guy from
The Matrix.
The Matrix. That's right. Again from Indie Retro News, great site. This is this guy. This has a ton of stuff on it. You can see it there. It's the complete works. It contains Black Viper, Cedric, Fighting Spirits, Spherical Worlds, Whale's Voyage, and the previously unreleased English language version of Whale's Voyage 2.
Very cool.
So now we have played one of those games, haven't we? Played Fighting Spirits.
Look at the way that the menu is set up. If you're watching our video version, I read up on the screen. He's mapped out a CD32 pad, and each one of the buttons triggers the launch of one of the games.
He's very clever, Jay is.
He is.
And gosh, I wish I was that able to do that sort of thing. We can talk about it. That's all we got, right? Yeah. So this is an interesting one here. This is a new Kickstarter I dug around and found out. Kickstarter.com, and it's the Big Box Gaming Presents Minsky's Furballs. It's some sort of puzzle game. They're working on Kickstarting this it's for a bunch of different systems. I believe the PC, the Mac, and the Amiga. It seems like maybe one of the phones. I'm not sure. To me, I don't know anything about this game as a puzzler. It looks pretty good.
It looks like it's a Puyo Puyo clone.
Is that? I mean, how can you tell that just from looking? I'm looking at this. Is just because it's the colors?
No, you can tell by the way the pieces fit together. Have you ever played Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine?
I've seen it. I've not played it.
Or
really
Kirby's Avalanche.
I'm not good at those games. So they're all sort of the same.
They're all sort of the same. It's a match. It's
don't
a
they
match
each have
four
some
sort of deal.
gimmick?
Oh yeah, I'm sure that this one has a very interesting feature that makes it much different than the rest of them, but they're all based upon the same mechanic.
So if you want to kick in to get this knocked around, hey, he included Amiga in there with DOS and
Windows
and the Mac, so that's not too bad.
I don't think the Mac is on
there. It said Mac.
I think
it did. It said Mac.
Oh yeah, PC Amiga. I was looking at the logos down here.
Don't make me act like I'm totally crazy.
You aren't.
Here's another one. E-Rock is back. What is this guy? Does he sleep? What's happening? This is another indie retro news. A jacked up version, super enhanced version of Wonder Boy in Monster Land. Now, I believe this was one of the titles that we had on the Master System, wasn't it? Both.
It was.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I own this or not. I've got a couple of the Wonder Boys.
I think this is the most famous one. I'm going out on a limb. I don't know if that's true or not.
So. He's made a bunch of improvements here. You can probably read something at the bottom there. I can't quite see it.
Yeah, so he's tweaked the palette. It's closer to the arcade original.
More colorful.
Yeah,
always a good thing.
He's you no longer need a keyboard to play, which is a huge help. You know, we were discussing just the other episode about how much we enjoy the lean back experience.
Right on. Yeah. In the keyboard, no.
Yeah,
that's a no. Now this, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna jump right into this Dreamcatcher article. Dreamcatcher was a busy boy this week, and I read this article, and it's called "I'm Afraid of No Lawyers," and it's a article about the real Ghostbusters game, which was the Amiga's port of the arcade game. I'm not gonna say arcade classic because I don't know if I ever saw it in the arcade. It seems like I have.
If you would have asked me before I saw this image, was there a Ghostbusters arcade game? I would have told you straight up, no. I've never heard of this before.
That looks like a conversion of Bad Dudes.
Really?
Doesn't it? I mean, the way the cabinet looks.
4-player?
3. Poor Winston got the heave-ho. The only black Ghostbuster once again showed no love.
That's a shame.
So, and the Amiga was only 2-player. So, the funny thing about this is, my son, my girlfriend's a big into the paranormal and whatnot, and so, of course, she loves it when this happens. But my son has gotten into the real Ghostbusters cartoons. You ever see that?
Oh, I loved it. Grew up watching.
Now, I grew up not caring about it.
You are too old.
No. I watch cartoons now. I just thought, real Ghostbusters, And so I've started watching them with the kid, and they are fairly entertaining. Mm-hmm. I will give them credit. Yeah. It's not bad. I actually watched the original Ghostbusters, which was the one with the two doofuses and the monkey.
Yeah, that one I have never seen.
That's a Filmation joint. And then they also did cartoons. So anyway, Dreamcatcher, aside from just telling you about the game, he goes back all through the history and the litigation of all this and it's crazy interesting. I immediately replied as soon as I finished reading the article. I was like, "This is gold." It is really interesting. He talks about some of the other Ghostbuster games that were basically just reskins of other character games. It's great in-depth article from Dreamcatcher. It's funny. I highly recommend it. I really enjoyed it, and you find out what's actually happened between Filmation's Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters, and all the stuff that came afterwards, including the screwing of Filmation.
Oh, really? That's great.
Yeah.
I'll check this out.
It's great. It was a real good article. So here's something that I was pointed at. In fact, I think this came from our Discord, Pixels at Dawn. This is straight from the man himself. I believe he actually filmed this with his phone. John Hare plays the cannon fodder theme in some bar or someplace. Where was this boat?
It looks like Play Expo in Manchester.
Is that where it was from?
Yeah.
Have you actually watched this yet?
No, I've not seen this
This is
yet.
not like a knockoff. I'll just do the song. I mean, this is a long. He goes to work. He comes to play. This guy's got chops. No, I know you're stunned. So if you want to watch the main man throw down, he really knocks this thing out. I was surprised in the video, and it sounds so it's good. I mean, it's pretty good because Pixels was like, it's not that good. It was fine. It was real good. So
thanks, Pixels.
That's the Pix. Yeah, he said he was more than happy to let us use that. I want to get back to Dreamcatcher again. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. So. Dreamcatcher put up a video. I'm trying to see if I've actually even listed this yet. I'm not sure I have.
You talking about the the banana
That's
Rainbow Islands?
Banana Rainbow Islands. And I can't remember the name, what he called this article.
If Poundland's sold Amiga games.
So where does he find this? I couldn't tell you. I'm speechless. So some dude, as a programming exercise, basically did his own version of Rainbow Islands, except instead of rainbows, you drop bananas and you're a monkey.
Yeah, and it's crap.
And no, it's not. No, what? And much like Flood, there's rising water, and you have to get to the top of the level using your abilities before the flood happens. Right. It's different. It's different than Rainbow Islands. So he borrowed graphics. And of course, Dreamcatcher, he doesn't just say like, "Yeah, these look like they're borrowed." He goes and finds where everything's borrowed. He finds where the music's from.
Of course.
You know, so
it wouldn't be Dreamcatcher if it wasn't ceaseless attempts to get to the truth.
If you want to know what would happen if with the unholy baby of Rainbow Islands and Top Banana, this is your game, Banana Islands. Think about it. It works. It works on every level.
Yeah.
So I think that guy looked like he was from Deluxe Pac-Man. So anyway,
very cool.
Dreamcatcher had one hell of a good week this week. Let's go ahead and I want to talk about now. Rampant Maniac poster. Daniel Cordell posted this. This is not Amiga related, but I'd give the devil their due here. He posted up a picture from the Spectrum Next, this game it was playing. Did you see this picture he put up?
Yes.
That looks pretty good. Don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people. I've been listening to a lot of shows, and everybody's licking their chops to get hold of this thing.
People are very excited.
I feel like I'm Johnny off the spot here because I'm just like, let's see what it looks like. Because I'm not we don't know jack about the ZX.
That's true.
The ZX, what do you call it? But hey. It's cool. Hey, it looks good. It looks like they're off to a good start. People are excited. People that have tried it say it's awesome. We shall see. Now, I did see a unboxing video of the competitor to that, which I guess somehow got released. So it did actually make it out to remember we talked this a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, the portable version, right?
It's not so good. Not so good, I'm afraid. Yeah. It looks like there was a rush job on it. So c'est la vie. All right, so backtracking here a minute. Let me see. I think we had. I want to talk about what you posted, Boat. An incredible ATX Amiga 4000 motherboard. Since that was your baby, why don't you speak on it?
Yeah, so I saw this popped up on the old news feed the other day, and computer owners have always been fascinated by trying to fit different sorts of boards in different sorts of cases.
Correct.
And we live in a golden age of the availability of ATX style cases. You can get them in any material you want, any size.
Yes.
And so if you've got an ATX case around and a big pile of money, you too can have an Amiga 4000 motherboard that is built to fit right in there. I guess this guy has created a board that is the ATX size, and it just pops right in modern PC case.
He made his own Amiga 4000 board?
Yes.
How did he do that?
Well, it doesn't go into the specifics. But,
is this the new board I've heard about that's floating around?
I think that it is.
Unpopulated or whatever?
Yeah. So you've got to supply your own chips.
Holy moly.
You pop them in there and...
that'd be a shaky project. You're sitting there desoldering all the stuff from your working Amiga 4000.
Right.
We've got this right. If we don't, I'm sure someone will correct it.
What do you think about putting a classic computer like the 4000 in a modern ATX case?
If I could just take the board, first of all, I don't think I would care. I'm sure there is a ton of advantages to put it in this case, special stuff and whatever. I would not have the guts. Especially when it was working. If I had like 3 or 4 that were duds and I could just be like swapping parts off, yeah, I'd give it a whirl. But man, if I'm going to work at 4,000, I'm like, hey, let's do something that's borderline goofy. I don't know if I'd do it. That's just me.
Yeah, I was looking to see if there was a price listed here, and I do not currently see any price. So this might have been a one-off thing, even though it's listed on Amiga, which is is the Amiga buying and selling service.
My guess is it is multiple £1,000.
I would say so.
Pounds sterling, buckets, buckets pounds.
So
what do you guys say about that?
I don't see, to be honest with you. Maybe if you're, why would you do this? I don't know.
There's a ton of reasons to do it.
Why?
Because it may more adequately supply you with. I mean, who knows what modifications have been done? It may use a more modern power supply. It may enable you to, maybe it's got some sort of USB gimmick. Maybe it gives you more space for larger Zorro cards. Who knows? It's stuff beyond this. That's why I'm not going to comment on it. Because the second I'm like, oh, this guy's an idiot, then I'm going to get an email that says like, well, you're an idiot, and here's why, and they'll be right. So I'm just going to preempt that and just say I'm an idiot. That way I don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean?
I'm sure there are excellent reasons for that, but to me, when you put any of the classic, any Amiga computer into what is essentially, a boring black box, you take away part of the soul of the machine.
Oh boy, that's philosophical, Bo.
I'm getting deep.
Yeah, you're getting deep, all right. So I think that's all the non-site related crapiola. So let's just hit up quickly what we did this week. Did you play anything this week, Boatster?
I did not.
You had school start this week. You've been a busy individual.
Yeah, my streaming days are over for the time being.
Well, me and the Brent. That's not right. Let me rephrase that. This week on ARG Presents, I submit a game. I don't know what the hell Brent was doing. He submitted something that's a borderline game, but it was an insult to me and the entire Lynx community. So if you want to see me browbeat and belittle Brent in video form, this is the show for you, because Brent left. You remember how you used to get on me for just randomly picking games? But it worked because I was getting some good stuff. I mean, I got lucky. This is what happens when you pick something randomly and you don't get lucky.
Well, it's sort of this is Brent's Hyper Load Runner.
Oh god!
I mean,
Hyper Load Runner was a complete game mode.
I heard you guys talk about this game. I listened to the episodes. I haven't played it.
Because if you're going to defend this, don't do it.
It doesn't seem that bad.
Okay, you go play it. I'm not. I got that. Oh, boat. Something we mentioned.
Okay.
I forgot to mention.
Okay.
It's another one. It's another boat. You forgot to even mention your own thing. The company.
Right.
Let's talk about that, because I didn't get to look into this. What's the scoop?
So the company, your favorite EXE wrapper and mine, have released version 3.0, which now no longer alerts your malware systems that that things are happening. And it also makes it easier to save your configuration, which was always kind of a pain if you wanted to mix things around within the EXE file itself. But if you are listening to this right now and you're looking for the easiest way to get into playing Amiga games, it doesn't get any easier than going to thecompany.pl and downloading an EXE file of your favorite game and double clicking on it. That's it.
It doesn't install. Right up. And I hope they'll go back and get all their files and at least move them up to 2.
Right.
Because they still had a lot that were 2, because one won't work on modern Windows.
Right. So the first game that they just released was the Lotus Trilogy. So check that out.
A wise decision. Let's see. Another site news aside from ARG. Bo, you released our wacky antics from Insert Disc 2,
right? Where
you literally try to give me a coronary attack right here at the table. What's with you and Brent this week? What did I do to you guys? You're trying to kill me.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Trying to kill me.
Did
you look up Christian Slater in the interim?
Oh no.
Oh jeez, Bo.
But I did see him and Rosanna Arquette. I think were they in a movie together? Roseanne Arquette, Patricia Arquette.
Which one?
I don't know. Are they the same person?
No, they're sisters.
I saw some movie, True Romance or something like that.
That's a great movie. That's you've seen. Now you haven't watched.
I've not seen that, but Flack posted a poster of it or something up there.
Flack is a wise man because that is another tremendous film.
I saw Christian Slater's name, and I wanted to mention to you that I at least saw his name.
Well, go watch something. We'll talk.
And finally, we released just this past week another Amigos remastered episode from back in the vault. We just released one of your favorite games,
I saw it.
Blood Money. Right. So if you want to go back to and listen to one of our early episodes with improved sound and added video content, check that out.
Better sound, just cut me out. Cut me out of all those old episodes.
No way,
Let
man.
them fire them up.
No way.
You know, those seem like, what was that, episode like 23 or something like that?
Pretty early on.
My God. What are we on now? Do you have any idea what episode this is?
This is episode 161, I think.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Good God Almighty. That's
hard
crazy.
Hard to believe.
It is. That's all I got for the Nizoos. That was a good crop.
It was.
As summer grinds to a halt, we should see a lot more Amiga-style action.
It's a good week for news in the Amiga world.
Indeed.
You ready to dive in?
I am.
Let's do it. Test Drive 2.
You know, I've been playing Test Drive since I was a wee lad. They just keep cranking these things out. So, but this is the one I remember sticking with me when it first came out. So, Test Drive 2, The Duel. I can't do it like the sexy girl does it. The Duel. I love that. Released in '89, Boat. How old were you in '89?
8.
8 years old.
8 years old.
There you go.
I was not playing too much Amiga.
I graduated high school in '89. I'm sorry to say. So now, Test Drive 2, obviously the sequel to Test Drive 1, developed by an outfit called Distinctive Software Incorporated. These guys did sort of a wide array of stuff on the Amiga. You've got your 4D boxing. Have you ever played 4D?
That's one that we've always talked about wanting to get into.
I've played it. It's pretty cool. I did NASCAR.
What is the fourth D in that?
Well, you have to. I can't describe it.
Okay.
You have to play it. NASCAR Challenge, Cycles, Dick Tracy, for some reason, Grand Prix, and then here's one we did cover, Hardball. Did Hardball 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then a couple of Disney games, Mickey's 1, 2, 3s, and ABCs. So they were all over the place here.
Absolutely.
This they did have a budget published on this one, the Hit Squad promotion, because you know them. They publish a lot of stuff. So just a little bit about DSI, because they sort of have an interesting story. They were founded in '82, and they did some pretty good stuff. Of course, all the stuff we just mentioned, and then they did a lot of they did some stuff off the Amiga. But if the funny thing is, they were actually bought by EA. There's a story you never hear, right? And they became EA Canada, or as we call them around here, Canada. So
America's hat.
That's right. In '91, they were bought out or taken over by EA, and they were from Canada. I got myself. I'm living the gimmick. They were up in Vancouver, British Columbia. So they did a lot. They did a lot of porting. But probably the best known games that they did was the Test Drive series and Stunts. Do you remember Stunts?
No. Was that another
Stunts
racing game?
It was.
Okay.
It was a car racing game. EA got them in a deal that was worth 10 million U.S. buckaroos.
Wow.
Is that much though?
It seems like a lot to me.
You know, I guess. But
I mean, if it's like a 4-person studio, they're all getting rich.
Now, this I thought was interesting, and that's the reason one of the main reasons I want to talk about DSI. So, of course, DSI here was in bed with Accolade on this one. Accolade Presents, you know. And so when they parted ways, one of the things DSI did was converted Outrun to DOS. All right, and they used several libraries that they'd used for Test Drive 2, and Accolade sued them for violating an agreement that said you can't do that. And so it went to court, and of course Accolade was saying, "Hey, listen, you made these libraries, and they're our watch, or you know whatever." But the court found that Accolade had failed to demonstrate that there was any hardship on their behalf, and that the licensing agreement would transfer. So they basically threw it out.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, just something to ponder. I thought that was kind of cool because that is something you hear about occasionally, where a company will develop. Because think about it, software, there's a lot of plug-in stuff you're going to move on.
I mean, you hear that even today with all of the VR stuff. And
Sure. So this ran on the OCS, you know, old school. And this thing you couldn't believe how many conversions there were. And I watched a great video, and this is a shout-out to the guy that does these Test Drive comparison. And he does a bunch of video game comparisons, Prince of Persia and a bunch of other
Who
ones.
is he?
I can't remember the guy's name.
Awesome shout-out.
I'll link him up, though. I'll link him up on the Google+. So listen to this lineup here, and try to pick out the ones that aren't here, right?
Okay.
You got your Amstrad.
The Schneider.
I'm not even going to go down through the list of numbers. Number. The Apple 2GS. There it is. The Atari ST, the C64, the MSX, the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, the PC DOS, the Mega Drive, Sinclair ZX Spectrum, all those. So this thing was passed around quite a bit. It's weird to think that the Super Nintendo got a copy of Test Drive 2.
It's not that weird.
It is. It just does. It seems weird to me. I don't know why.
Why?
I don't know. I always think of listen, it's an Aaron thing. I think of this game as like an old Amiga/DOS game, and I think of the Super Nintendo stuff as a step up, basically. So when I watched the video of this,
I was going to say, how did it compare?
Did you watch it?
No, I haven't seen it.
It doesn't. The Amiga version compares favorably to it, but it's faster. The Genesis is sort of the same way. It runs quicker, but I would not necessarily say it looked or seemed better. I guess what I'm saying.
So would you say that the Amiga version is still the best version to get?
I would say after watching this is the video. This is the fella right here. Let's compare that series. But after going through all these, I think the Amiga one is the standout. Not just because I like the Amiga, but because it's got the best sound. It's got the best the best console. You know what I'm saying? Right.
Inside your car.
It's also got like some of the versions didn't include the gas station pictures, which I think that's
I like that
pivotal,
a lot. Yeah.
So anyway, this got it was on everything. They also released data discs for this, which we'll just touch on briefly. I don't know. Did you try out any of the add-on data discs?
No, I didn't.
I got lucky, and I had a WHD that had like a ton of the data discs already mixed in, right? So I got to try a bunch. I tried some of them. So they had a card disc called the Super Cars. They had a California challenge. They had a European challenge. These are scenery discs. It also had, now mine had this German scenery disc, and now I couldn't find anything else about that. So I don't know what that is. If that's someone made it or it just didn't get released here.
Interesting.
I played it. It was it's pretty good. But the car disc add more cars, so super cars. So I'll get into that in a minute. All the cars it adds, but it was it gives you some expandability. And they were smart to think ahead on this stuff and actually come up with the ability to expand, because out of the box you've only got 2 cars. So what is Test Drive 2? Basically the gimmick is you're driving exotic cars down. In this case, it's like I guess it's sort of like the American Southwest. I guess it'd be the best way. I don't think it ever actually tells you like where you're at. I just would assume that's where you're at. And also you can, in this version, you can get chased by the cops, which we'll get into that in a little bit. At the beginning of this, in fact, the menu the beginning of it's really awesome. You hear this music start up, and then you hear this chick say "Accolade Presents," and Test Drive comes up the door, and it's like a vector almost. It blows up. It's really cool looking, and then the car pulls in, and you're like, "Oh, look at this piece of work!" Yeah. And then the window rolls down, and this dude gives you the high side, like, "Yeah," and then drives off. And then the other sports car chases it. You're like, "Man, this is going to be great."
Yeah, very impressive opening.
Oh yeah,
I enjoyed that
and
a
the
lot.
music's good. I mean, it's simple, but it's catchy. You better like it because there's no other track. That's all you get. And then it comes up to a very Lotus 2E style menu in a lot of ways. You can see these games have more than a couple things in common. And then the menu system, you could pick if you want to race against another car or the computer. If you want to, what kind of car you want, and it also lets you go and load up your extra discs if you've got them. Then once you pick your car and your scenario and everything, it'll give you the choice of your ability, how hard, difficulty level. Now the first thing, it's like 5 levels are all automatic, and then going up past that, it's standard. Right. And what I like, something else is it's got on the little side, on the lowest difficulty, there's a baby beside it, like a racing outfit, and then on the other side there's a full size man looking all studly. So I was clearly in baby territory on this one. I've never even tried this in standard.
Oh, really? Okay.
I do play in the highest automatic.
Well, I'll talk about that.
Yeah. So you did do standard? Oh, good. Because we can chat about that. So, did you ever play Test Drive 1?
No. This is my first go round with the Test Drive.
Oh, really?
Series.
Okay. Well, I played Test Drive 1 back in the day, And Test Drive 1 is sort of like the just a really not as polished, slower running version of Test Drive 2, effectively. I mean, they made it look better and sharper in every way, and it's better. I mean, this is clearly a better game. Now, again, Test Drive 1, when it came out, was a huge deal. It was a big deal. But this one was the one that really set the world on fire, was the second one, because it had all, all the cool stuff that people like. So when you're driving in this game, unlike, say, a Lotus, where you're sort of you're battling other racers, in this one you're battling one other racer, unless you're going against time, and then but mostly you're battling
your own ineptitude.
Minivans,
yeah,
and other cars that are just like workaday cars that are out driving around. You can kill a family of 4 if you take the Notion accidentally.
No problem.
And these things, there's not. What would you say? There's probably maybe 3 or 4 cars, civilian cars,
vehicle types.
Yeah. And so they don't really. There's not a good variety there.
No.
Of course, in Lotus, I think they're all the same, aren't they?
It's better than Lotus by a factor of 4.
Yeah, in terms of the cars, I will say that. So each level in this game, and I believe you have to go through. What is it? 8? Is it 8 or 6 total stops before you get to the end of the race?
Oh boy, I don't know.
I've done it so rarely, I should know. But basically, the way the game is structured is the game starts. You're in your car. You hit your gas and you take off. And if you have a computer opponent, he'll take off with you, and you're going down the road. And basically, what you want to do is beat his time to the first gas station. And in the upper right hand corner of the screen, it tells you how long you've been racing, and it tells you how many miles to the stop, okay? And then you take off. And you'll go through traffic. You'll go through different scenarios in terms of where you're at. So like say, for the first level, it's mostly just kind of grass that you got to go through. And eventually you'll come upon a gas station sign, like a gas, like you'd see on a highway, upcoming gas station. You'll see 2 lines off in the distance. You want to stop your car between the lines.
Right.
And that means you've ended that leg of the race. Mm-hmm. And then they'll show you a really nice picture of a variety of different gas stations that are in the game. They'll give you your statistics.
And don't think you can make it till the next stop.
You can, you could go right past the gas station, but you're out of gas, so you lose a life.
Yeah.
So that's pretty simple. And one of the worst things is to not stop in those lines. And I will say this: if you've got a cop on you, right up on you, or even in front of you, if you make it to those lines and stop, it goes away.
Yeah, the cop just must have been.
If you're this close to ramming into a minivan,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You stopped, you're at the gas station. So, and I've seen that happen plenty of times. So when you get to the gas station, like I said, and the gas stations have wacky names. There's one that's like juggling supplies, I believe. Remember that one? There's some that look like kind of the rundown ones, and there's some that sell like some have big ice machines. So
it's a nice touch. They didn't have to put that in at all.
It's not in every version.
And like you said, it's not in every version.
Yeah. So you start the game with 5 lives. You can lose lives by crashing. That's a life. Running off a cliff. That's your life right there. If you get caught by the cop, that's a life. Now, if you run into the cop, game over. If you ram him, that's it. That game's over. It doesn't matter how many lives you got left, you're gone.
Speaking of game over, is this the game where they sampled the? It is at the very end of the game when it says game over.
Yes.
It's the sample from.
Are you going to get into that? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's pretty much all there is to it. They did sample.
Yeah.
This is back in the day when no one cared, right? So every time you crash, you also get 30 seconds added to your time. So you can knock your time up real quick. Also, another way to lose a life, if you're using a manual transmission, if you burn up your car, basically, you lose a life from blowing up your transmission like an idiot, which I didn't do that because I didn't play that. But, so when you pass a police car, your whichever car you use, every car in this game has a radar detector in it. And normally it just sits there. But if you with like a little green light, I believe. So if you come near a cop, it'll start beeping.
Right.
And often you'll see one of 2 things, really. You'll either see a cop on the side of the road with somebody else pulled over, or you'll see a cop sitting on the side of the road with like a radar gun, presumably. And he'll come after you. And then that thing will start beeping, and you'll hear the siren in the background. And you've got to make a decision. Well, at that point, you're boned. You've got to go as fast as you can and not get caught. Okay? The funny thing about this game is there are posted speed limits throughout the game, and if you aren't speeding, he won't come after you. So I guess you won't do very well, but you can One thing about this game, it's one of the few games I've ever seen where you can just take a leisurely drive and at nominal speeds and through the entire game if you really wanted to. But man, that'd be a slow ride. So the cops get tougher and more plentiful as the game goes on. Usually it's one, but as you get on, there can be 2 cops.
Yeah,
I've had 2 cops right on me. You never had that happen?
That's a big part of the difficulty level too. The cops would be more plentiful.
That didn't happen to me on the lowest level, but when I moved up to the highest level of automatic, I would have 2 on me. Not fun. You know, and the funny thing is they'd be battling it out back there to catch me, which is always cool. So you've got 2 cars, as I mentioned in this game. You've got the a Ferrari, and then you've got a Porsche. All right, I think is it the F40 and a 989,
959.
Is it 5 or 8?
I'm pretty sure it's 959.
Anyway, they're both awesome. I can't read that far. 959. Thank you. It's bad when you look at my notes and you can see them more clear than I can. Bifocals, remember? So both these cars are awesome looking. Can you change the paint or anything? No. This isn't like that. This isn't like Midnight Club. This is but you can now. So when you can add more cars. Okay. There's a Lamborghini Diablo. Hey, sounds good. Now,
I used to have a notebook with a Diablo on it.
Really?
It looked sweet.
So check this out. The Supercars disc has a Lotus Turbo Sprite on it. Sound familiar? All right.
Yeah.
A Testarossa. A Rough Twin Turbo.
Don't know what that is.
A Lamborghini Countach. I'm sure people that know about cars are laughing.
Rhymes with succotash.
And a Corvette ZR1. Now that's the Supercars disc. I can tell you, I tried a bunch of these cars because they're cool, and they play different.
I was going to say, does your dash look different?
No,
okay.
I couldn't see much. But what makes it different for me was just the way they handled. Like, I'll give you an example. I played the which one was it here? The Lamborghini. Okay, it handled really good. I also played the Lotus. It didn't handle as good, but it seemed quicker. You can go and look at the math. I mean, these guys didn't just like make up numbers. They really did the work on this stuff, which I'll get into that in a little bit. Now, there's another disc, and this is what I use. This is how I had an advantage on you when I played this. For my computer opponent, I always picked the car for them from the muscle car disc. The muscle cars are from the 60s. So you got a 63 Corvette Stingray, a 69 Camaro, a 68 Mustang Shelby GT 500, a Pontiac GTO, and a Dodge Charger Daytona. So I usually would pick like the oldest one of these, which I think was I usually pick the Corvette Stingray because I knew I was like, this is gonna be the slowest one. I can crush this guy, and I don't have to worry about this guy getting in my face. And so I would do that. Just now I've read. I didn't try to play any of the muscle cars when I was playing just on my own. I probably should have because if they're a little bit slower, it'd probably be easier. But the problem is with these bonus discs, they didn't make the cops slower. So the cops can come up and just zoom past these cars and get them every time. So that's a little bit of a flaw there. So if you're wanting to play with one of the older cars, just prepare to either obey the speed limit or get pulled over, boat. So what did you think gameplay wise, and what did you think about this since you've never played it before? You fired it up, you started a game. What were your thoughts?
It's a mixed bag, as you like to say.
Yep.
This is. I'll start with the positives. I think it's really cool that there is an accurate driving simulation for the Amiga like this. I think this is probably, if you look at all the racing games for the Amiga, this is probably the most accurate simulation. There's an oil pressure gauge.
Yes.
You know, there's the transmission. You see the shifting box right there. You've got the radar detector. You've got an accurate speedometer and tach. And they even do things. They make you do math in this game that you don't normally have to do. If you pick a European car, your gauges are all in kph, kilometers per hour.
The manual even has the conversion table.
Right, but all of your speed limit signs, it doesn't matter where, because you're always in a place where there's miles per hour, so you have to do math in your head. So I was impressed by that. I was also impressed by the rear view camera, or the rear view mirror.
Yes,
I thought that was a cool thing.
Too,
yeah. So graphically, if you look at it from, a perspective of, does it look nice? Boy, I'm torn, because there are some things that look really good. Like, I think the cockpit looks really good. It's rendered very well. The backgrounds are horribly plain. You know, the places where you drive, there are some trees and things scattered about, but once you leave the tree zone and you enter into the desert, I mean, you might as well be, you know, on some sort of a vector-based wasteland.
It's like Rescue on Fractalus up there.
Right, yeah. It reminded me of that. It reminded me of Stunt Car Racer, which, you know, you're so busy going over the roller coaster and stuff like that, you don't care about the background. But in a racing game, you know, I would have appreciated seeing a little bit more scenery. Control-wise, I think the only way I could get any enjoyment out of this game was using the manual transmission. Because I thought that the game it doesn't control particularly well. You see your speedometer, you're going real fast, but it never really seems like you're going that fast. The only thing that happens to you when you're going faster is your car is harder to control.
Yes.
You never really develop that sense of speed. But what I found was when I was playing with the shifter, that I was so focused on getting that right and finding the fun in that the controls, or you know, the lack of speed didn't bother me as much. I thought it was neat that they put a little spot on the steering wheel to show you sort of where you are on the wheel.
Yep.
However, you know, I thought, well, maybe you could do something with the mouse here where you can really nope. There's none of that. So
there are no alternative controls, and as far as I could tell, and I looked in the manual and didn't have any.
Yeah.
One of the things I didn't like was the fact that in automatic mode, you still have to push up for acceleration. You can't, and the button basically does nothing.
Yeah.
And what would have been nice is if you could have used the button to accelerate.
Well, what would have been great is if you would have used the WHD version with the button patched into the button too.
Right, but I like to try to play, because I played this on the 12.
Oh yeah.
And also, I actually loaded this on emulation to play the 500 to see what the difference was, and there's a speed difference.
I was going to say I started out playing this on the 600, and then I jumped to a 1200, and I saw a pretty significant increase in the frame rate. The frame rate is still not stellar, no matter what system you're playing it on. It's not going to be silky smooth like Lotus.
No.
This is a different kind of game though. It's a simulation title.
This is like if Lotus and Hard Drive had a son.
Absolutely, that's a very apt comparison.
You know, but this game's got a lot going. I'm kind of like you on this. This was a perennial favorite of mine, and when we picked it, I was real excited. I still think it's a fun game, but some of it's rose-tinted glasses because, and again, it's a game that was ahead of its time in a certain way. And if you run on a quicker system, it runs better. I like a lot of what it does, but there were things that could have been better. I wish you'd had more control options, for example. I wish that they'd had a few more cars to go after. You know, some cool, like there were just some like little things that they could have done, but mostly the big thing was just the frame rate was low, and it's hard to. I'd be looking at my speedometer as like you said, like go like 160, but it doesn't look like you're going that fast.
Right.
The control is a little weird because, especially on now other versions, really have it bad. On the Amiga, at least your steering wheel stuff are off the side. You can sort of tell which side you're on, but it's kind of weird when you're playing other versions is to tell where the front of your car exactly is centered. You know, so I like the Amiga version on that. The PC version is very similar because I played a lot of it too. I mean, they're pretty close. Amiga sounds better.
One of the things that I wish they would have done with the shifter is that whenever you're shifting up, you press up to shift. But it's very disconcerting because you see the physical shifter there, and when you want to downshift, you have to press up the downshift. I wish they would have just made it, since they went to the trouble of depicting it on the screen, just make your joystick match up with the shifter.
One thing you can do is you could go a certain speed and then let go of the stick, and you'll maintain that speed, basically. But you won't go any faster.
Kind of like cruise control.
Right. And so the problem is maintaining your speed is not necessarily the best thing for you. Sort of kind of always want to go faster when you're playing it. When you beat this game, if you've ever beat it, there's a couple endings. I've never seen one of the endings, but basically the ending I always see is you get to the end, there's a finish line you go across, and then this sexy girl cop is there, and your guy sort of flirts with her, and then she cuffs you. And now I've read that if you don't violate any laws, or and there's another ending where that doesn't happen.
I think I've seen that ending when I was watching the long play.
What happened?
And you're holding her hand, actually.
Oh wow! That's clearly I didn't see that. It's cool when you get a speeding ticket. It actually shows you the ticket. That's kind of cool. There's a little touches that I like.
One thing that I will say, the manual is written there's a lot of humor in the manual.
Yes.
This comes from the golden age of manual writing,
right?
Things like that.
Now one thing I did want to touch on that I thought was real funny. Believe it or not, I found an article in this game in Driving Auto News.
Oh,
okay. And this guy went out to do like an anniversary talk about the game. So get some of this stuff. This is crazy. So Brad Gore, which is son of of a local manager at a Volkswagen, Audi, and Porsche place, he went there. He went to DSI to interview for a job. And when he thought he was gonna, go there with a bunch of geeks, basically. And he walked in, and Don Matrick, which is basically the guy that ran DSI, and he did the coding for this. He's sitting there with a Porsche 944 in his parking spot, and on the license plate it said "Evolve." So this isn't like a game that just some geeks got together and made car game.
This is a car game made by car guys.
Yeah. Now listen to this. This is something I really like. This guy went. It was the guy that did the sound. Okay, he went to the boss to get. They had actually went and leased a car to do the sound effects on. Right.
Oh wow!
So they leased like a Ferrari, I think it was, and he went to that Don Matrick, and it was a Ferrari. That's right. He went to pick it up, and Don Matrick was going to go bring the car to do the sound, but he was busy. So he told this guy, "Come pick up the car, do the sound, and then you can take it back to the lease place, the rental place." So he got it. He went and did the sound because they used real engines in this. And then he couldn't help himself but drive around in this car to look like a stud.
Oh, yeah.
He drove it to his brother's house. He drove it. He said he was going to drive as much as he could. So anyway, he drove it for so long that he ended up getting back to the place that rented it to him too late. They had closed.
Oh.
So he's like, geez, what do I do with this car? I can't just leave it out here in the street. So he drove out in the middle of nowhere in it, where he didn't think anyone would fool with it. Then he slept in it, which is great. And he said, exact quote, he said, this was a good day. So he had a good time sleeping in this car. And then something else I thought was kind of neat. One of the programmers on the C64 version, he was also the guy that did the in-game music. His name was Chris Hatelid. He was another guy that worked there. When he worked on the game, he wasn't old enough to have a driver's license. So at some point, Don flew him up there to see how the progress that he made on the game was, and he goes, yeah, I'm going to loan you a car so you can get around town. And he had to tell the guy, well, I don't have a license. And he's working on the game where you're driving hot rods. So that was kind of funny. The team, it's funny, these guys actually knew their cars, and a lot of them, these guys had preferences in their car. They all picked different cars, but they was like a real labor of love when they put it together. And just to close it up, Don Matrick, the guy who was running DSI, and he now, or at least at the time of this article spring, was that chairman of Zynga, which is, I think that's that online gaming gimmick.
I think they were one of these people that got purchased by Facebook for $2 billion or something like that.
Something else I was digging up. Now, I'm just going to show this, but the test drive had like 1 million versions, right? Mm-hmm. So it went all the way up to 6. Then it did, by the way, did Test Drive Evil Destruction, which we reviewed a couple weeks ago on the Xbox on ARG. And then they had a ton of these. And if you look at the top 10 best-selling car franchises, Test Drive actually gets in there, believe it or not.
Interesting.
It is number 10.
Wow.
With all their stuff thrown together, 5 million copies of Test Drive.
Why don't you read the top 3? I bet people would be interested to know.
I think they're real simple.
Okay.
Number 3 would be Midnight Club, 18.5 million. Number 2, Gran Turismo, 72 million. And Need for Speed series, which have had 1 million of those.
Yeah.
100 million. Now, a lot of people correctly know that basically Test Drive sort of was the thing that sort of kicked Need for Speed off. They sort of saw that and said, hey, we can try that. And that's what they did. Because that pretty much took over. The Test Drive series has been around. They tried an off-road variants of it for a while and stuff. But, I think it sort of maxed out with the exception of Evil Destruction. And really, that's not even a Test Drive game. It's more of a Destruction Derby type game. But I think if you played Test Drive 3, I thought that was pretty good. I'm trying to think if I even played any of the other ones. I think I lost interest right about that, that time on that. The reception for the game wasn't as good as you'd think. I was kind of surprised at some of these scores. Some people just weren't down. I don't know what the problem was with the game, but they just didn't dig it.
Well, there's plenty of things to dislike about it.
Sure, but you got to think, I'm talking about when it was released. Now, some of these are also re-releases. They always kill those. Yeah. So Unlimited, it's getting 7.5, pretty good. Ace gave it gave it an 885. I don't know, out of 1,000. I don't know. Amiga Action gave it a 75. This is a re-review. Amiga format, gave it a 62 on a re-review. So I guess they didn't get it the first time around. Here's one from the first go-around, 78 from the one, 77 from CU Commodore user. You know, I think 77 or 78, I think it's a better, I mean, if you consider when it came out, I think it would deserve, I would give it a B. I think it's a low B. Honestly, now that I play it, it's a game I still go back to. But I think some of it, I mean, listen, you got to call when it happens. Some of it is a little bit of just like fondness from my childhood.
This is another game where there's no background music when you're driving. It's a shame because this is another game where
something else I was going to point out.
The intro tune, the intro tune's great. There's even a toggle. You can press M to toggle the music off and on. I was like, oh, great, I'm going to turn this on in our race. No, that doesn't do anything.
I liked it though. I think it's a fun game. It's still worth pulling out, but and they never released another test drive for the Amigas. This is all we've got. But I think your Lotus series sort of picked up. It's not quite the same, but it's pretty similar in a lot of ways. Plus, I mean, if you think about it, you don't get as many cars, obviously, but you get way more scenarios and you get a lot more options. You got multiplayer and stuff like that, so can't complain.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap this thing up, I want to remind everybody that we do have a Patreon account. If you want to go over to our page and help support the show, you get access to a bunch of really awesome stuff, like access to our Discord server. You get access to, I guess that's really the only thing you get access to. But it's pretty cool. There's a lot going on Discord.
It's great. I found all kinds of stuff on there.
Yeah, you can become part of the Amigos Game Selection Committee and help choose the games that we play every week. And you even get on the official Amigos Supporters t-shirt, which you can check out over on teespring.com, the Amigos Retrogaming store. Last week, Aaron, there was one correct entry for the Patreon song. Pixels at Dawn guessed correctly, and you also guessed correctly. You don't guess those often, but when you do get them, you get them good.
Synapse fires.
Yeah, Birdhouse in Your Soul by They Might Be Giants.
Also, I was a big fan of They Might Be Giants back in the day. So
yeah. So this week we're going to do another song. If you know this song, you can send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com, and all the winning entries will be read live on air. So we're going to kick things off. Here we go. Howard Nibbs, Matthew Larimore, Andy Craig, Sean Zoller, and Lomax Corum 419, Bachbid, Roland Burke, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie, John Cook, Dan Ross, Leaf Kalan, Alan Kebab, Chicote Level, Lord John Marshall, Matthew Perrone, Ricky DeRocher, Creepy Dead Boy, Figgy CTZ, The Slow Norris, Stefan Gord, Martinson, Evan Helland, Blindo 75, Christopher Hessel, Ravi Abbott, Chris Foles, Dreamcatcher, Lauren Giroux, Graham W. Vebke, Brent Dowdy, Lane Denson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Hucker, C. Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Duncan Stiles, Alan Kebab, Anthony Jarvis, Tapes from the Crypt, Josh Nan, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THE Eric Nelson, Kim, Tommy, Humbertstad, Darren Benson, The Brutal Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Warnes, Pixels at Dawn, Feloshin, Midlification, Orthan and Logical, Please Stop Singing Boat, and Kjolbjorn Barben.
Is there a guy on there called Please Stop Singing Boat?
I wouldn't have sung it if there wasn't.
That's one of the backers?
That's one of the backers.
That's my favorite backer right there. Good God. I knew that one instantly, by the way, like that.
I also want to remind everyone that we do record this show live every Friday, except when we don't, around 4 to 5:30-ish.
We're early today.
Yeah, we're early today. You can join all of the colorful characters in the YouTube chat, like Edvin Helen, Joseph H, Pixels at Dawn, The Guru Meditation.
In the house.
Necronom, Pixel Vixen. Ooh. Duncan Stiles, everybody hanging out in the chat. We got a lively group in there today. Thank you for joining us, guys. Next week, Aaron, we are going to play the Amiga's answer to The Legend of Zelda, your favorite role-playing game.
Yeah.
We're going to play The Spirits Legacy,
Ooh. Okay. I will try to approach this with an open mind.
That's great. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you again next week. Until then, adios.